Last week for Storytime, I discussed some stories from on the bus back in middle school, or 7th and 8th grade. I promised that I would do another Storytime on stories on the bus in high school, which is what I am going to do today. Now, before I get to the backstory, I need to address a few things to stop confusion. As most of y'all know, I am still in high school as I'm in the 11th grade, so you might be wondering why I'm making this now and not after I graduate. The main reason is simply I just doubt that I'll ever ride a school bus again. Let me explain. So last time I rode a school bus was way back in August of 2019, the beginning of 10th grade. However, I'll discuss what made me stop riding the bus in 10th grade. Also should note that I am only talking about 9th and 10th grade only. This is because back in August of 2020, I got my driver's license, meaning I just drive myself to school every day. So therefore, since I never rode the bus in junior year, I don't have any stories to tell for junior year. So just like last story time, I'll be talking about the backstory for 9th grade and the backstory for 10th grade, respectively. I'm Zach, and this is Storytime Number 4 on January 22nd, 2021. So let's start out with freshman year. I've already talked about freshman year as a whole, but I mentioned only one story that really related to the bus. I didn't go into full detail with that story, so I'll tell it in this video for extra information for those who have seen Storytime 2, and to catch people for those who did not watch Storytime 2. Now let's actually discuss the backstory. So this was my first year of high school, obviously. I rode the bus to and from school every day. However, none of these stories I'll be telling actually took place on a daily route to or from school, as no real events ever happened during these times. Instead, the two stories I have for freshman year actually come from field trips. We call these field trips intensives, as these were meant to teach us a lesson. I'll explain intensives and all the intensives that we did on my February 5th story time, so stay tuned in for that one. So the first story involved a long bus trip, while the second one involved multiple short bus trips. So let's get into it. So 9th grade story 1. This took place on August 11th, 2018, and this was the 4th day of school, and for our intensive, we were going to go rock climbing. And so now, if you saw my Storytime 2, you would know that this was one of the best days of my life. Like, this day was so awesome. Like, what happened was that we got to go rock climbing, and like the whole trip was just super fun. We got to meet new people because it was our 4th day of high school, and I knew nobody, but this was when I started to meet people. And everyone was new, so like I didn't know anybody. And so now, if you also heard Storytime 2, you would know that I talked about Michael. Michael was was one of my friends back in 9th grade. He left he left our school for the remainder of high school because he just found it too challenging. And we sat beside each other on the bus, and this was a great choice for my teachers to put us together, because like we were able to click very easily, and we became really good friends then. Like throughout the bus, we played Clash Royale, talked about random stuff, and also made big jokes. You know, average 14-year-old thing. And so after going to rock climbing, we went to Golden Corral, which, if you don't know, that's basically a buffet restaurant. Food is pretty shitty, but it's cheap. And so on the bus trip back home from Golden Corral, we actually ended up Michael had apparently stolen a gummy bear up there. Well, he didn't actually steal it. It's all paid for. It's just that he had a gummy bear. And so what we decided to do was that he had 2 gummy bears, actually. So we decided to swap the gummy bear's body. Like, we literally decided to play Skylanders Swap Force for a sec with the gummy bears. It was really funny. And we basically we made some very deformed gummy bears. And so afterwards, we got back, and everyone was exhausted from that trip. Like, it was very, that trip, it was exhausting, but it was so much fun. Most people, I believe, took a nap afterwards, and like most people, literally, I think me and Michael were like the only 2 people who did not take a nap on the bus, just because we were too busy talking about deformed gummy bears. Anyways, let's talk about story number 2 for 9th grade. This took place October 3rd, 2018. For this intensive, we were touring around our city to look at some historical artifacts throughout our city. And But this was honestly not a good idea because it was hot. Like, it was like, I think like 90 degrees outside. Like, it was ridiculous. And we also had, at the same time, we also had to jot down 3 notes on each historical artifact that we visited. Like, we visited two theaters, we also visited a carousel, visited a fairgrounds. Like, it was pretty rough. We walked most of the trip, but we also took the bus for a few locations, like for the carousel. And however, honestly, the bus was worse than walking outside. Like, the bus was hot, and like, it was ridiculous. Throughout the bus, I sat with Dylan, who he often comments on my videos, on my story times, and I've also mentioned him in story 2. And now we were waiting for our teachers to get back. We had just finished our final destination, and we were ready to go back, but teachers had to do something. So it was just me and all the other boys that were in the bus together. And since no teachers were there, I decided to take the time and literally shout out, "Well, boys, we're gonna get so thirsty, we're gonna have to drink our own cum." And then we're 14-year-olds. I think you could know what I think you could tell everyone laughed over that one. I mean, I was 14. Of course, I was gonna say something like that. So, and everyone died of laughter. And of course, no teachers heard it, so I get away with that one. Now that I've told you some stories from 9th grade, let's talk about 10th grade. So before school started, back in July actually, I got my driver's permit, meaning I could drive anywhere with adult supervision. In order for me to get my license, I needed to wait 1 year and had to have a total of 60 hours of driving, with 10 of those being at night. Therefore, I drove with my grandmother to and from school in order to get the hours that I needed, meaning I was not riding the bus at all. This means the only time that I rode the bus was for a 3-day field trip at the beginning of the school year. However, I actually have 3 stories from this trip alone on the bus. This place we went to was about 2 hours away from where we live. The city we stayed at is called Blowing Rock, so I think you could easily guess what one of those stories is. The trip was pretty bad overall, but we still made a lot of great memories up there. Now, let's talk about the first story of 10th grade. This takes place August 7th, 2019, and as I told y'all before, just like the one from October of 2018, I got to sit beside Dylan. What happened was that for this, our teachers had paired us up with like our 9th grade teachers basically knew who we were very close friends with. Because remember, all of us are friends. Like every guy and girl at school is friends with each other. So everyone there's nobody left out at my school, I don't think. So. But like we all had our like closer friends, and of course my very close friend was Dylan. So I actually got so our teachers assigned us our seat, and they assigned us based on who our closest friends were, and so they assigned me and Dylan together, which was perfect. And now that summer I decided to become a speedrunner, which is actually why I decided to do a speed run for gameplay in this video, just because I decided to go back to speedrunning this year, but I became a speedrunner back in 2019 during the summer after getting my Switch and getting Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, and I thought it would be fun, and it is really fun. And so now for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, I am a 200cc runner, meaning I really only run 200cc, and so and you know, as a speedrunner, when you have a lot of time, what do? You decide to pick up your Switch and do a run. So literally on the bus, I did a speed run. And so it was a 48 track, no items speed run, by the way. And during the whole time, Dylan timed me. It was funny, but no personal best was achieved though. But the run was still a lot of fun, especially considering I got to show off to Dylan like some new strats that I had and all that other stuff. That was really fun. And now let's move on to story 2. This takes place on the same bus ride as story 1, being on August 7th, 2019. And the run, I should note that the speed run had been finished, but by then I'd already finished the run, so don't have to worry about that. And now we were almost at our destination, and I need to remind y'all that we stayed in a city called Blowing Rock, and that's where and we saw a sign that said Blowing Rock, and then just randomly out of the blue, some guy had said Blowing Cock, which, remember, we're 15-year-olds, so I think you could tell that the whole bus cracked up. So, but however, here's the thing though, all the teachers rode with us, not the girls, so like, it would be hard for us to like kind of crack that, but they didn't hurt here, or at least they basically ignored it. They probably just ignore it because when somebody screams blowing cock at very loudly, I'm pretty sure the teachers would hear it. It's just they didn't really care. I mean, oh well. Now let's talk about story time number 3 for 10th grade and the final story I have for today. This took place on August 8th, a day after arriving from the trip. And now, remember, we were 2 hours away from where we live, and that'd be Charlotte. And, however, since we were up in the mountains during this time, because Blowing Rock is in the mountains, destinations normally, or just bus rides in general, normally take about an hour. Like, the bus rides were always extremely long. And so, if you read the description for my video of me beating I Promise, you might recognize Jackson. Jackson really liked Geometry Dash, just like me. And so one level that in particular that he really liked was I Promise. I Promise is a medium demon by Anzor, and I actually beat it as my first medium demon back in as my 15th demon a little while back, so make sure to check that one out. And so Jackson wants to beat this as his first demon, which I told him that he probably shouldn't, but he wants to do it anyway, so good luck to him. And so he raged, but when I say rage, I mean this dude turned in full-blown phase Jev. Like, this dude raged so hard, and it came to the point that he almost threw his phone over a freaking cube game. Like, he almost threw his phone. Like, he probably would have thrown his phone out of the bus if he did, just because, well, he's gonna rage like phase Jev. So, like, that's literally what he would have probably done. So that's all the stories I have for riding the bus in high school. I hope you guys all enjoyed this video. Next week, January 29th, 2021, I'll plan on discussing my sophomore year in general, just like I did with my freshman year with Storytime 2. Therefore, unlike this and last week's Storytime, this won't be a very humorous video, but I'll still make sure to add some humor. And just like one for freshman year, that one will be completely scripted, unlike these, which are semi-scripted. Anyways, that's all I have for Story Week, or for... why did I call it Story Week? That's all I have for Storytime this week, so...